All right, and welcome back to the forecast card. Gonna mix it up a little bit today. College basketball has been pretty shitty, honestly. It just seems so awful in February before the tournament that I'm not even sure if it's necessarily worth investing so much time into until the tournament. I'm still gonna post the videos every day, but it hasn't been nearly as exciting as it was earlier in the year when I was quite profitable. So I'm really gonna get into home runs later on in the MLB season once that starts up. But before that, I'm going to kind of, I guess, test out the waters here with some hockey props, kind of get a feel for what kind of format I want to do and whatnot. So I'm going to give this a shot, see how it goes. I was at one point profitable in betting goal scores back in the day, but I'm kind of busting it back out here now that I'm being a little bit bored in the sports betting world, so this hopefully might spice it up a bit for me. So let's get into the three players I'd like to score a goal today. All right, game number one. This game's actually going to start in about 3 hours, I believe. And this is going to be the Rangers heading on the road to play Pittsburgh. Now, both of these teams played yesterday. And the one thing that you will typically see in any sport is when teams do play on back-to-backs, the offensive effort is typically still there. But their defensive effort definitely dwindles. They back-check less. They block fewer shots. They're typically a little more tired. And once they push up deep on the offensive end, they typically are a little bit tired if they have to play some defense. So I am expecting a lot more penalties this game. I'm expecting a lot more shots. And again, you're getting the two backup goalies in this game, so you're going to be likely to get a lot more goals in these type of games. Now, statistically, Kreider doesn't lead the team in goals, but if you look at his advanced stats, he is dominating almost every single advanced stat in high danger opportunities. He's someone that is always in the right spot at the right time, and you've been seeing he scored in 2 of his last 3 games. He's starting to really regress towards his expected goal numbers. Panarin is starting to regress, and I think we're going to see a good chance and a lot of opportunities on the power play here for Chris Kreider. Now, Kreider is likely to be on the third line where he always has been. But on a back-to-back situation, he has typically gotten more minutes because the primary skaters like Panarin and whatnot, who play 20-ish plus minutes, are probably going to get fewer minutes in back-to-back situations. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kreider got closer to 17, 18 minutes today. Now, Penguins have, in my opinion, one of the worst defensemen in hockey, who is Karlsson. Karlsson is an elite offensive defenseman. He puts up a lot of pressure, but he's not very good actually as a true defenseman. He any line that he's a part of has been up there for the expected goals against. And I'm expecting him to be out quite a lot against the second and third lines, not necessarily against the first line. So I think that's where Kreider's going to match up quite well in the 5-on-5 and on the power play. Again, Kreider, if you look at the expected goals on the power play, he's by far the number one option. You'd expect it to be Panarin, but Kreider seems to be the guy that takes the most shots and has the most opportunities. Blomqvist is going to be in net for Pittsburgh. He is basically a Jari replacement. I think he's arguably worse than Jari. His advanced stats are terrible. He has almost a 4 expected goals against per game. I think Kreider. I think the Rangers are going to score 5-6 goals this game after a dud yesterday, losing 2-8. What else is there? Kreider's been leading every single stat. And the Penguins, when playing on back-to-backs, despite them not being a team that actually takes very many penalties, they take a ton on back-to-backs, as you would expect for a team that's quite tired. So Chris Kreider, I really like the odds in this one. Runner-up would be Panarin. Naturally, his odds are much worse. I think the odds to value ratio leans here with Kreider. All right, number 2, arguably, not even arguably, it is a very square side, but I really like this spot for Matthews. They're going to be up against the second worst defense in the NHL in Chicago. And Soderblom, very similarly to Blomqvist, is a very bad statistical goalie. Most of the time, that's because they're playing behind some really bad defense, which is true. We're getting, again, both these teams off of back-to-backs, so I'm expecting a lot less defense and more penalties, which is always going to benefit someone like Matthews, who is quite a weapon, especially on the power play. Matthews is coming off a bit of a dud. Even though they beat Carolina 6-3, he only had one shot that game, not a single point. Obviously, there's a bit of a hangover from the All-Star game. Both him and Nylander were kind of invisible. But I'm expecting them to bounce back a little bit here now that they're back in their Toronto uniforms. It's hard to expect Matthews to be off the score sheet 2 games in a row the way he's been playing lately. And with that energy kind of driving between all of the narrative that he's the reason why the U.S. lost against Canada, I think he's going to be motivated here to score. Furthermore, again, he's up against Martinez and Jones on the first line. This is one of the worst defensive pairings I've seen in a long time. They're a new pairing for the Blackhawks, but they're already on an expected goals against inside the top 10 in worst defensive pairings. And when you're playing against Nyes, Matthews, Marner, you're going to have a problem. So I think they're going to find a ton of success here. But yeah, he's dominated this head-to-head. The Hawks take already a ton of minutes when they're not playing on a back-to-back, so I'm expecting the Leafs to get a ton of power play opportunities here. And with the season, I wouldn't say coming that close to an end, but it's approaching relatively quickly. These are the games that the Leafs have to win to try to lock up that first seed. So give me Austin Matthews at decent -110 odds. All right, now heading into the third game, we have Nazem Kadri on the Calgary Flames. This is a very similar matchup to the last game. They're up against the Sharks, who give up the most goals in hockey. And they have, again, Kadri has kind of started to evolve to be the number one option on this power play. It was Huberdeau for most of the beginning of the season, but if you look at the advanced stats and the expected goals, Kadri's starting to move way up above Huberdeau. When these two teams did play last time, this was when Kadri was looking more of like a playmaker, kind of like a Mitch Marner type style to his game, where he wasn't shooting as much. And Huberdeau actually had 2 goals the last 2 times these teams played. So I think now that Kadri's being the guy that's taking shots a lot more than Huberdeau is, I really like Kadri in the spot to get in a goal instead of 3 assists like he did in the last game against the Sharks. Again, he's up against Georgiev. Georgiev has probably had one of the more saddest careers I've ever seen in the last couple of years, going from Stanley Cup champion with one of the better teams to getting traded to the worst team in hockey. So now he already wasn't performing well with a decent defense in Colorado Avalanche. Now he's happened to play in front of a really bad Sharks defense. I think he's continuing to be dog shit, and I think Calgary is going to run up the score here. Furthermore, this Sharks first-line defense, who's going to be up against Kadri, is atrocious. This Thrun guy, I don't know who he is, but if you look at the advanced stats, the top 2 lines in expected goals per 60 minutes, this guy is on both of those lines. So they've tried to mix up his pairings, but for whatever reason, when he's on that line, he gives up a shit ton of points. So I'm expecting the Flames to have a lot of opportunities in this game. Kadri has been the number one option, the most likely to score a goal in 5 of their last 10 games. And the biggest reason why I kind of like this angle here for Kadri is that Georgiev is a teammate, old teammate of Kadri when they played together. And I do believe, when you practice with a player like that, you really start to know his weaknesses. And I think Kadri is going to be motivated here to score a goal on his old goaltender. So those are the 3 goal scorers that I'm running with today. This parlay adds up to about 1,700 on Bet365. I'm not really sure how I'm going to bet my units yet. Today I'm just going to dabble. I'm going to put about 1.6 units on 0.5 on every single, and 1/10 of a unit on the parlay, 0.1 to win 1.7. So if you like this kind of content, if you want to see more, please let me know down below. I really want to start getting into props. My NBA props I've honestly been doing quite well. I just haven't figured out how to make a video on it because it's all kind of purely model. And it's kind of hard to just talk about why the model likes something because a lot of it is not necessarily intuitive, at least to speak about. So we will see how today goes. Let me know if you're tailing. Hopefully this will just be a new little fun thing to have something to look forward to when watching hockey, since my Habs are starting to be a kind of a shitty team again. They did win last night. It was a nice win, but Brady Tkachuk was out. So, yeah, I don't know. Not a fun game. Not a fun team to watch when you're not really competing for the playoffs. So, give me, yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Later.